Oops. Didn't want to do that. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our pajama party. Glad to see you all here this morning. So I want to start as usual with welcoming any new people to our call this morning. David, we're going to hear from you in just a little while, but do we have other new people who are on the call this morning? Going once, going twice.
Hi, Amanda's on the call. CPC.
Yes. Yes, Amanda, and we're going to hear from you very shortly too, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and for some reason my website's not loading here. Okay, that's not good. Okay, well, anyway, welcome everybody. Anybody else new on the call this morning? If not, let's roll on. So first of all, meetings, September 13, 20, and 27. I think I sent you all an invite that also included next Monday, which is a holiday, so you can ignore that. So next meeting is on September the 13th. So we'll see you all then. Hope you all have a good holiday weekend. And want to move on with a couple of quick things. Just a reminder, as many of you know, if you attended our last meeting, that we've now started kibitzing with colleagues right after this meeting. Anybody who chooses to participate, wants to just join in with dialogue and discussion. We're going to be about 8:45 to whenever, as long as people want to kibitz, we'll be there. No agenda, no presentations, just pure sharing information, getting acquainted and so forth. So I encourage you all to join us. It's been kind of a fun experience. Excuse me. So I want to remind you also, and I don't know what is going on with my webpage here, that it's not loading. But I want to remind you that we do have an events and updates webpage that has events and resources and activities that are going on. So if you want to keep up to date, although I have to say it's a little bit outdated, needs to be updated, and we'll hopefully get that done in the next day or so. But it's a good way to keep track of webinars that are coming up and funding sources, particularly all the federal funding that's coming up. So I encourage you to, okay, what is going on here with my website? No, that's not good.
Steve, if I may, it looks like that particular browser could use a restart.
Well, if I need to do that, I will do that. I don't know what's happening here, but I can do that. I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute. See if that website's there. Yeah. Well, this is very weird. There we go.
Yeah, just so you know, Steve, I noticed like in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little icon that gave me the impression that some updates had been installed in the background.
Yeah. It is doing that. Firefox is installing your update. Okay. Pick in an opportune time to do that. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for this to come up, I have several announcements. And Cindy, do you want to, and Nicole, I don't know if you're online, do you want to tell us about the directory that you guys are working on?
Sure. This is Cindy Hogan. I've been working with Nicole Umayam at the State Library on the Connect Arizona website. They're doing an updated section. They're going to be calling it the Arizona Digital Inclusion Directory. And we are currently sending out introduction emails and invitation emails to people that, or organizations that we've discovered around the state are doing digital inclusion work. Anything relating to getting people online and getting them tech support and digital navigation and services like that. It includes refurbishers, anybody that has any connection to trying to improve the status of our digital connection here in Arizona. So we're sending out emails inviting people to be listed in this directory. And so if you're part of this team, you'll probably be getting one. I'm going to send it to Steve today. And yeah, Nicole is very excited about having kind of a one-stop place that people can get information on kind of what we're trying to do across the state to get people connected.
It's pretty exciting. I know as I've talked to different people who are doing planning and so forth, and they think that they're making it up. And we have so many resources and organizations for them to connect to. So it's very exciting to see this directory evolve. So thank you, Nicole. And if she's online or not, and Mala, please pass that on to her. And Cindy, thank you. You've done such great work with all of our digital inclusion work here. So a couple of quick things. We've been meeting with Chicanos por la Causa about a possible EDA grant. And Amanda Bernal, I believe you're on, and Robert, I don't know if you're there or not. You want to talk just briefly about the conversations we've been having so far?
Yes, hi. Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to the meeting. I was texting Robert. I don't know, he was traveling last week. So they said to make it quick. Steve said to make it quick. So I'm going to make it super quick. We've been speaking to the team about an EDA grant that's called Building Back Better. It's two pieces, or it's two parts. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 is 50 to 60 applicants are going to be awarded, and it's 150,000 for a planning grant. And then you get invited, or you can submit to the second phase, which is up to 75, up to even 100 million. And it's really around regional economic revitalization and change. So if you're thinking about like a supply chain or something that has to do with really revitalizing and transforming an economy from a regional perspective, and the grant leaves it up to you, to whoever is writing, to decide what the region is, depending on if it's like a supply chain, if it's a system, really using the system to define what that is. So I think that's pretty high level. I don't know, Steve, how far you want me to dig in?
Yeah, I just want to say that we've had, when I say we, Derek Massif and I and Cindy Hogan, along with Robert and Amanda, have had some very preliminary discussions about this grant. But one of the issues that came up, and Jeff, and I don't know, Cindy, if you're online, Cindy Patak, but we did want to know if there are other people in the state who are applying for that grant, and what the issues are about having multiple grants being submitted from Arizona. So Jeff, I don't know if you have any comments about that, and Cindy Patak, I didn't see if you're online yet.
Yes, I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone today, Steve. I can't get online for some reason.
Okay.
Anyway.
Steve, I'm going to refer to Cindy on this one. This is an EDA program.
Okay. So anyway, we'll keep you up to date. We'll be getting back together again, but we were concerned about knowing who else was submitting a proposal, and to see if we needed to connect with people in some way, shape, or form.
So Steve and Amanda, good morning. So I think I can be this candid by saying we haven't had a whole lot of interest in BBB in Arizona. I do think that it's a lot to put together, and I think even if you heard the webinar that our Deputy Assistant Secretary gave, it's usually something that folks are already kind of have coalesced around, maybe very informally though. But at the end of the day, I'm not really at liberty to say who my potential grant applicants may be. And that said, I think it's important to know that without knowing who the awardees may be, that each and every proposal will be looked at individually as a whole, as its own project. And in the webinar, I think you saw by the time we get to phase 2 EDA, we'll be looking to award about 20 to 30 of these grants, and so that is nationally. That said, it's a headquarters initiative. It's a national challenge. So I don't necessarily think one proposal is going to knock out the other. My emphasis always would be on putting together a solid phase 1, and with the hope of moving on to phase 2. That's your biggest indicator. Understanding that if you're not selected for phase 2, that what you have at the end of phase 1 is a really robust method to move forward. So either individual projects that have been identified in that first phase would be eligible for funding under EDA NOFOs, other federal funding, notice of funding opportunities, even our public works funding when we get that, and even subsequent funding under another BBB initiative. So again, my advice really would be to just focus on a strong proposal.
Okay. If any of you know of other people who are preparing a proposal and would be willing to share with us, and, again, I think we wanted to see if we needed to partner with other people, or whether we do a separate grant, or so we're all in the very early stages of that. So Amanda Bernal, do you want to say anything more about that at this point?
No, I think like you said, Steve, I think you captured it perfectly. Right now, we're just kind of in the finding phase to see who can partner with us, trying to get all of our data together, and then figure out how to proceed based on all the information that we can get.
Right.
So,
and just by the way, that Amanda is Vice President for Resource Development for Chicanos por la Causa. And I gotta say, Robert warned us that she is amazing, and she is. So we're really glad that we're looking at partnering with her in some way, shape, or form.
thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. I have to hop off. I have another meeting to attend, but if you need anything, please let me know.
Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it. So next thing, I just wanted to tell you that I had a call. You may recall that, well, two things. One, when we first started the task force, that we wanted to talk about, besides the government funding, that there is lots of other funding that's available. There's foundation funding and corporate funding and so forth. And so if those of you who were involved with us early on when we wrote our report will remember that we talked about needing to have some state resources to be able to research funding sources and to help with writing grants and so forth. Well, fortunately, we now have that in the state. I can't say that we can take credit for that, but nonetheless, we have a great resource in the state. And you may recall that Kimber Lanning presented to this task force several weeks ago, and she asked that Katie Body, who is the center manager for their economic recovery center, contacted me about a week or so ago and wanted to reestablish a relationship with us. I had an excellent conversation with her about the resources that are available and with consultants that can help write grants and do community planning, researching funding sources and so forth. And so she is going to present again next week, just because it's a great resource. And we talk some more about how we can best collaborate with her. And she was very excited about participating and being engaged with the task force. She couldn't be here this morning, but we are looking at looking at many opportunities for her to help with the folks who are participating with us in finding resources, doing planning, and so forth. So you'll hear more from her next week. Next is that Henry, I know you're online. Do you want to just talk briefly about your plan to develop a task force meeting database?
Yeah, okay, Steve, that person, by the way, what was her name? Katie what?
Katie Boddy, B-O-D-D-Y.
Okay. Yes, well, we've had our task force meetings going since March 23rd, 2020, so 18 months now. And I thought it would be a good idea to prepare a database of all the presentations that have been made at our task force meetings in the past 18 months. So I created such a database. It has the date of the meeting where we had the presentation topic. We call these presentations, Steve typically calls them digital access resource highlights, uses that terminology. So I list the date of the meeting, the presentation topic, a brief description of the presentation, and the name of the presenter. And I sent that database, it's an Excel spreadsheet, to Steve last Thursday.
Sophia, could you please mute? I think we're getting noise from you.
And so Steve is going to convert that Excel spreadsheet to a Google Sheet and maybe add links to the task force reports and presentations and post that on our website when he has a chance to do that. But I think that'll be a handy way for people to keep track of all the different presentations that we've had in our task force over time. Go back to them because there's a lot of valuable information that's being presented to our task force from various companies, government organizations, nonprofit organizations, and so on.
Great. And thank you, Henry. It was a great idea, and you've already done a great deal of work, and look forward to collaborating with you to get that done fairly soon. Are there any other project kinds of things that we need to know about that I didn't include in these announcements? If not, moving on, let's move on to our updates. Jeff, you want to kick it off, please?
Sure, Steve, thank you. Just a couple quick updates. Number one, Henry, thank you. That sounds like great work that you're doing there. I think it's important that we keep a record of all the great stuff we've had. And I also wanted to make a comment. I had a meeting with the governor's office on, it was Thursday or Friday of last week, and they were very happy that Chicanos por la Causa was involved with what we're doing in broadband. As I've said from the very beginning, this has to be a community bottom-up effort, and we're here to support and not to necessarily run the projects themselves. So keep these projects coming forward. I think it's important as we move into what I call grant season here, that we really start to pull it together. Good example is Santa Cruz County. We're pulling together a big broadband action team meeting in early September to develop a plan for that county. So if your section of the state is not in the process of developing a plan or has one in hand, October is going to come quickly. So let's talk. Along those lines, I've got a meeting with Valley Telecom later today to talk about Southeastern Arizona. Again, this is an area that, quite frankly, we haven't had a great amount of carrier interest. So we're going to see what we can do to work with them as well. Big picture.
They've joined us. They're participating with us now, Jeff. I think you know that.
Yes, yeah, and we're excited to have them on board. As I said, we're going to need everybody to help with this thing if we're going to get it done statewide. Because as you mentioned earlier, yes, we're receiving a lot of money, but the cost of building out fiber to the prem or the equivalent per county, just to give you a rough ballpark figure, and this is probably low, is about $100 million. So again, we're looking at spreading out our money very effectively throughout the state. KPMG, we're about the end of our current engagement with them. They've got some really interesting ideas regarding our highways and some of the strategies we have. The goal is to have a addendum or amendment, however you want to call it, to our state broadband plan by October as we launch the grant, just to give everybody some perspective about what we're thinking about doing at the state level, make sure that your grant is in alignment with that. I will be traveling quite a bit over the month of September, so I apologize if I don't get back to people quickly. In addition to the Southern Arizona trip, I'm going to be in Northern Arizona for a week. A lot of activity up there, as you can imagine, and things are really starting to come together. So thank you for everybody and the hard work you're doing. I will be out Friday. I will be in Las Vegas to watch the U of A Wildcats play. Bear down for all you other Wildcats on the call today. So if you need to get a hold of me, please do get a hold of me before Friday. Thanks.
So Jeff, you want to have a personal life? What's the deal?
I tell you, I'm doing the best I can. I tell you, we've got a lot going on. This grant is a once in a decade opportunity to do some really important stuff. And it's important that we get our very best applications out there. I'm talking to a lot of carriers. And again, the way I'm explaining this to them, and maybe I should be clear with everybody about this, this isn't E-rate. We're not looking to fund your entire project. What we're looking for projects that have a huge impact that they just don't pencil out initially. The ROI just isn't there, but with some government funding to help with that, to push it across the goal line or to make it just a little bit bigger, to cross that area where maybe you got to build across a national park and there's no potential customers for you to make that happen. We've seen some really interesting stuff. I got to tell you, the folks up in Yavapai County really have it together. They know what they're doing up there. Pinal County has a very interesting plan as well. One of the common denominators between those two plans are they have pretty extensive middle mile networks built out with E-rate funding. Yuma County has something similar. Apache County has something similar. So what we're trying to do is leverage the network we have, and we feel like with the grant we can do that. There are some areas, quite frankly, that do not have this middle mile network. In many of those cases, we're working directly with carriers such as Valley Telecom, either for all-inclusive programs or for middle mile network or use of their network for middle mile in some cases. Sparklight's been very helpful with that. So there's a lot of different projects going on. There's a finite amount of money, and we're going to get every little bang for the buck out of that money. Again, Southeastern Arizona has been an area where we haven't had a whole lot of activity, Steve, and they've really stepped up recently to help. So if you have any interesting projects that we're unaware of, let's talk about them now to make sure that they're in line with what we're trying to do here at the state. In addition to the money we're receiving, there's additional funding theoretically in the infrastructure bill if that gets passed in its current form. And anything we do both with KPMG and what we're doing with our grants is going to be in line with additional funding coming. So the structure will remain the same. The dollar amount may vary, but we're super excited. There's a lot we can do here in a short period of time if we're organized and we spend the money correctly.
Great. So I just want to say a couple of quick things. In the conversations that I had with Local First Arizona, that as Jeff certainly has acknowledged, that there was a lot of federal money coming down, and a lot of that money is focused on infrastructure. And one of the conversations that I had, and we'll hear more about this both with Chicanos por la Causa and also with the Arizona Economic Recovery Center, is the whole issue of digital inclusion. And so as you know, we're working on this directory already, but we think that there's a lot of money that's going to be available to address digital inclusion in the state that goes beyond any government funding. And so I think we're going to have continued discussion about how to go after some of that funding, which again was part of the discussion we had early on when we created the task force. Any questions for Jeff before we move on? Got a lot to cover before our presentation this morning. Okay,
I have a quick,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Kirk.
Steve, I got a quick question. Jeff, is there any updates on where the infrastructure bill actually sits? And maybe Mark follows this too, but where the infrastructure bill actually sits in the House and if there's any huge obstacles there? right now?
You know what, I'm definitely not the guy to comment on what's going on in Washington. I don't know if John Kelly or Mark is on. They're probably much more qualified to do that.
It looks like the House is preparing to vote on it on or by September 27th before some sort of recess or occurs. What will really happen if they vote on something that's different than the Senate passed version, then it will have to either go back to the Senate or a conference committee. So it really depends whether the Democrats rally around the current language and actual, fixed content of the Senate bill, or push back and are looking for mods. I hear some chatter about people who would like something different, including from some of us who, for example, don't like the way CAIs are being treated in the current broadband language. So I'd say probably a 30% chance that the House would pass the Senate bill just to get it moving on the way it is, and probably a 70% chance that it'll linger on for at least a month after that as the Senate and the House coordinate. That would be my best. John, if you're on, certainly welcome your take. Okay, I have the word then.
Okay, let's move on. Mala, are you online?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Just to emphasize what Jeff was talking about, the state actually has about 1,500 miles of fiber laid out with E-rate dollars, the middle and last mile, since we started this work in 2018 with funding from the governor's office, $11 million state match from the governor's office to match what E-rate was giving. And that has resulted in the 1,500 miles or more of fiber growing as we speak. So there is a lot, especially in, as you mentioned, in Yavapai County, Pinal County, Yuma, Apache, Gila County, all of these areas, there is robust fiber, middle and last mile that has already been built out. So we just need to continue doing what we're doing and continue applying for E-rate dollars that we have been applying. So that's good. About E-rate, before I go on to the next one, is that Federal Communications Commission FCC has released the new eligible services list for 2022. It's disappointing that they didn't add anything for cybersecurity, which we've been pushing a lot for, but they have clarified that any equipment that we buy, if there is software necessary to run it and to maintain it, that is eligible, because that's been denied a lot in the past, but that is now eligible. And they're going to be stricter about using prohibited software from prohibited companies, companies that are on the Secure Networks Act prohibited list. So Huawei and stuff like that, there has to be a plan to replace that. So that's what has been indicated in the new eligible services list. Comments are due by September 27th. Reply comments are due by October 12th. I will put the docket number in my notes so that you can get to see what is on the list. With Emergency Broadband Benefits Program, we have had 112,862 households that have applied so far. Arizona is still among the top 15. We're 14th, slid down a little bit, but not that much. We do need to keep the momentum going. We are adding at the rate of about 200, 250 households every week, which is not bad, but of course we need to continue to push and promote the use of the funding for Emergency Broadband Benefits Program. And thanks to everyone who's been doing their best to try to push it to as many households as possible, especially Cindy has been working really hard on this, I know. The ECF, Friday, 13th August was the last day, and the USAC is working on sending out the funding commitments. It is exciting to see that USAC published a state-by-state breakdown, and Arizona was 6th in the whole country among how much we applied for. Yay, Arizona. I'm really proud of the fact that we got to that high a number of applications. We requested about $200 million in ECF funding. This is only through libraries and schools. Schools can apply for, schools applied for tablets or laptops or Chromebooks for students, and hotspots and internet connectivity for those. And libraries applied for again, hotspots as well as tablets to give patrons who are not students for it, for this grant. AZ's ask was approximately $147 per student for the number of applications that went, which is a modest amount, considering that laptops, the upper limit of how much they would give for a laptop was $450, and for the hotspot was $250. So $147 per student is a really, really modest amount for the ask. The exciting thing is that because this was so well applied for, much against what I believed would happen, they are opening a second window. The second window opens on September 28th and closes on October 13th, a very short window, just 2 weeks. And they're doing that because schools were on vacation at the time when the first window opened and closed. And they still have another $2.something billion available for connected devices and connectivity through schools and libraries. So another chance to push this through the schools and libraries. And thank you for everything that you have done to draw the attention of schools and libraries to the availability of this grant. Also wanted to share that Shelby had a webinar on telehealth and libraries on the 20th. Craig Settles, pardon me, was the main speaker. And he has a guide, the telehealth guide to connecting library patrons to better health. And they spoke about Indiana's example, Delaware's example, Texas pilot projects. And Janet, probably you will share, Janet Major and I are planning to do a webinar. I think it's on September 9th, Janet, correct me if I'm wrong. We bounced around a couple of dates. I think it's September 9th. We will send you a link and to share the experiences that others have had, and hopefully a plan for what we at the State Library would like to do. Any
Awesome.
questions?
Okay, let's move on if there's no questions. Holly, are you online? Do you have anything you want to add? And Mylan, are you online today?
Holly is not online, I know.
I don't think Mylan's here either this morning.
Mhm.
Okay, let's move on then. Got a lot to cover and want to get to our presentation. Janet, are you online? I didn't think she was here this morning. Okay, moving on. Sophia, I know you're online, or you were.
Yes, hello. I apologize for not being on mute so long. I definitely thought I was. I will keep it brief so we can move on with the rest of the agenda. Just like Mala said, we're going to be doing some things to promote the new ECF window to schools, and Mylan is doing some work to support schools who want to apply, along with our new interim CIO, Chris Richardson from ASU. We're really excited that there is another window. Additionally, we're working on a response at the department to the long-term plan recommendations that the tech task force made to the department. And I will let you guys know when we're ready to share our plan with you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Leah, I don't think you're online, are you? I don't think so. Derek, I believe you are online.
I am, and I'll be quick as well today, Steve. So happy to report that the I-17 construction project has been awarded. It was awarded to William Charles Construction. No, segment one, I got to be very clear. Segment one, which is the McGuireville rest stop up to Flagstaff. That segment was awarded to William Charles. Segments 2 and 3 remain pending with the original CMAR contractor, but segment one, the kickoff meeting is this Thursday morning in Flagstaff. So I'll be up there along with a number of other folks, and happy to get that construction going. Continuing to work with a number of minority serving institutions on the NTIA Connecting Minority Communities grants. Let's see, continuing to advance our work with school districts in the Phoenix metro area in particular, to get connectivity into students' homes that need it in order to it's homework gap solutions. We're working with Isaac Schools and continuing to advance that program. So looking for other partners there, and about to send, I think we're working with Sophia to send out a solicitation for more school districts to sign up for working with us on Eduroam. So happy to be kind of pressing the gas on that project again soon. I think that's all the highlights for today, Steve.
Okay, great, Derek. So it's really exciting to see the highway project. You've really moved that process along pretty quickly. So really appreciate all your work with that.
Yeah, we hope to be live, late next year. So
Cool.
A lot to do.
Awesome. Wes, are you back online? I know we had to drop off. Anybody have any updates on the Final Mile project? So I believe that there were 4 RFPs that were reissued. Anybody know what the status is on those?
I think they're still pending, Steve. I know those 4 were reissued. The one was awarded, right? The responses are still due, so they're probably in that quiet period.
Okay.
That's what I know as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other updates about EVB? Tracy, Nicole, Cindy. Oh, there's Wes. Hey, Wes.
Yep, sorry, I had a little bus issue at my school district.
Okay. So Wes, do you have anything more that you want to add about the status of Last Mile?
Oh, yes, I do. But it's been a long process, and the very end of the process is what was going to be what would prove the entire concept, which is having quality, successful bidders for the projects. And I can say that all 5 projects received successful bids, and all 5 projects are going forward. So we've been successful with the entire proof of concept process. What we're looking at now is trying to expand awareness of the Final Mile project and the concepts we support. Our next focus will be on the county boards of supervisors, so they know that there is a successful concept out there for completing last mile connections while they've got that money to spend. So we finally did it. And if there is a hero in this, I don't know if he's on the phone, Mylon Eaton is the hero in this. Mylan Eaton is the guy who had the idea. He's the guy who made it happen.
So one part of the discussions we've been having is that we need to advocate for additional funding and support for that last mile project. It's great. There is, as Wes indicated, that they're in the proof of concept at the moment, but we need to make sure as we move ahead with all this funding that's coming down, that we advocate for that funding and help them to go after additional funding. Because right now, as Wes indicated, we're targeting 5 schools, which doesn't come close to all the schools that need to have that support. So Wes, you want to add anything else before we move on?
No, I just appreciate the time and your patience. I know everybody thought I disappeared off the earth or was abducted by aliens.
Well, we already knew you had been abducted by aliens.
Oh, they got tired of talking to me and they let me out of the spaceship, so I'm back.
Okay, so going back, Tracy or Cindy, anybody else want to say anything more about EBB?
I think the only thing really that would be, our heart would be to continue to work with the community to really highlight EBB and of course, schools and libraries that the ECF program, like when you have money available, we want to make sure that all those who know that they can access those resources understand that. So we have that beautiful Connect-Arizona website that has so much great information. Everything that we're doing with digital equity, I think, is going well. We just have to keep working on the navigator side, like getting the information to the community.
Well, and Tracy, with that comment that I think that if we move ahead with the CDA grant, that may be one of the navigator thing. I mean, the preliminary discussions, and all this is very preliminary at this point, is that we certainly wanted to focus on digital inclusion. And I think part of that may be, and I want to emphasize maybe, that we could include is the navigator, because I think that was very clear as we started the whole EBB initiative that navigators were really important.
I believe, Elena, you have something you wanted to add?
Yes.
Yeah, I just put a link to an article in the chat. And it's really kind of what we've been saying all along. I mean, specifically Tracy and Cindy and Mala and I, when we meet on our own in our own separate little, subcommittee meeting, it's really a catch-22. I'm sure everybody is aware of that, but this blog post really kind of explained the issue of why people aren't, signing up for EBB and some of the other federal programs. It's just too complicated. So the navigators, I think, are absolutely imperative to this whole idea of digital inclusion.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents, but.
And Cindy Patak, if you're still online, I believe that that's one of the big areas of interest for the EDA funding.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also happy to follow up offline if you'd like to brainstorm a little. I don't know. I know that we want to keep it moving, but please feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like. Or did you want me to answer something specific?
Yeah, we did when we were when we had our preliminary planning meeting, we decided that we needed to talk with you, with Jeff and so forth as we move ahead here. So definitely we will do that.
But
yeah, that sounds great.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Just a reminder that isn't the window real? I mean, we have to move because the window is, and we have October 1st is the time for the first phase.
Yes.
For phase 1, it's October 19th.
19th. Okay, that's still just to keep that on there.
Okay, let's move on so we have plenty of time for our presentation this morning. So I want to welcome this morning, excuse me, 2 people that I believe are both online. David Ackerman, who's the general manager with Alluvian Communications, and Amanda McDonald, who, again, consistent with our discussion here, is the program manager with their Digital Connect initiative. And so Alluvian just received how much was it? Well, David, I'll just turn it over to you. It's about 14.8 million reconnect funding. And so I'm going to turn it over to you guys and let you talk about what you guys are doing, what you're up to. So I'm going to stop sharing and leave it to you.
Good morning. Thank you. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yep.
Good. Hope everybody's doing well. First off, thank you, Steve, for the invite. I really appreciate being able to speak with this group of movers and shakers. It looks like you're doing a lot with digital inclusivity and different initiatives like that, getting broadband to underserved areas. And I think that's probably one of the reasons Steve decided to have us on this call is we're doing a lot of the same. We're in a unique position to be providing broadband to rural areas that many places, and when I say broadband, I'm talking fiber to the premise broadband, that many other organizations, either put up wireless or rely on old copper lines. We're putting in new infrastructure, fiber-based infrastructure. So we got a lot of really cool things going on in rural Arizona. Let me go ahead and get this presentation up, and we'll walk through it. And please, as informally as possible, ask any questions. If I don't see your hand up, someone shout out, let me know, so that I can make sure that I get everything in here in the time that we have. All right, Steve, can you tell me, is that sharing well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So again, my name is David Ackerman. I'm the general manager over here at Alluvion Communications. As I mentioned before, we are a fiber optics carrier. We provide communications and connectivity for rural Arizona and tribal organizations. We are 100% owned by the Gila River Indian community, and we operate in Arizona. We build bespoke networks. That means that we build networks based on our customers' needs, which is very different from the other models that you might see out there. We build to where the customer needs. So it's really exciting to be a part of such an organization. Start off with a little bit about myself. Raised in a series of small towns on the East Coast, from Pennsylvania to North Carolina. Started my telecom journey in IT and worked my way up. Started in IT, went to the NOC, became the lead there, and eventually the senior broadband engineer with a nationwide carrier. Jeff, just like you, am a U of A graduate, got my MBA over at Eller. And I'm here today to share about and talk about the way Alluvion is providing these valuable services over much needed infrastructure throughout rural communities in Arizona. And I want to talk about our vision and how we're going to do that and what we've done so far. So please reach out with any questions. So Alluvion, I'll give you a little bit of information about us. We, again, are a fiber optic communications carrier. Right now we have network throughout a good bit of central and southern Arizona, a good bit in Pinal County and West Phoenix. I will pull up a map and we'll go through kind of our plans and what we're doing here. We provide voice activity service that might be needed to a whole plethora of different kinds of subscribers, from schools and E-rate to enterprises, big electric vehicle manufacturers, other government locations. We're on a state contract, for example. So any kind of fiber-based communication service, that's what we provide. One unique thing about Alluvion is we began, 2006 is when our articles of incorporation were signed, and we got our CCNN in 2007. So we've been around for a while, but we were traditionally an HPBX voice company. So what we did, until I came around, just serve voice. You know, we built a huge HPVX diversified network and started growing the company as that. As that became more commoditized and we looked at the network, I came on board 3.5 years ago and redrew the business plan entirely and focused on connectivity and fiber infrastructure. Fiber infrastructure is becoming as necessary as roads and water and electricity. We need internet to learn, we need internet to grow and for economic development. So that's what we built the new business plan on, and we've been evolving since and putting the network in the ground.
David, could I ask if you could speak a little louder because it's hard to hear some of the stuff you're saying?
Absolutely, Henry. Can you hear me a little better now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
I'll try to get a little closer to the mic here. Was there anything specifically you need me to repeat or anything, or are you good?
When you say HPVX, what does the H stand for?
H is hosted, so it's
hosted PBX.
offsite.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's managed by us.
Okay.
Okay. It's a hosted voice solution.
Okay.
All right, we've got a great team here. Our CEO, he's been doing this for many years. We've got a team from regulatory to accounting that comprises over 50 years of experience in the telecom industry. We have a proven track record of doing what we say, building out where we say we're going to, such as rural Arizona, and I'll show you that here on the map. Like I said, we have experience with enterprises, colleges, cities, state government, and things like that. So we have a world-class network, the latest and greatest. It's lean core segment routed MPLS network, and we like to say it's smart, fast, and reliable. Let's get into some of the major experience and qualifications that I think are important for this call. We hit all of the major data centers in the Phoenix area, downtown, and we're growing to some of the other big data center areas like Mesa and Goodyear. The importance of that is as we grow throughout rural Arizona, we can bring some of the cost savings of our transport directly to these data centers and be able to serve with much higher capacity bandwidth to these the rural areas and closing that digital divide. We're an authorized CLEC. I believe I already said that, but we got our CCNA in 2007. So we're not new to this game. Luvion's for the first time on the state contract, which is a big deal. It's a great contract vehicle and ensures that we're doing everything right. USAC SPIN, we were able to bid on E-rate projects and help schools and libraries if needed. We won Connect America phase 2. We got a few areas throughout the Valley. This is FCC funded build outs. So we're working on that currently, building out to the areas that we want. And as Jeff already mentioned, we just secured the Reconnect grant, which is around $15 million. I'll pull up a map here. I'm trying to be conscious of everyone's time as well. So please stop me if it sounds like I'm rushing. So I will pull up a map that shows that Reconnect area and the areas that we selected to serve. These were areas that are not being funded by any other grants or any other types of monies, and specifically to reach underserved areas in Arizona. Some of our products, I know I mentioned connectivity, but here are the majority of them specifically. DIA is internet with an SLA, so something that an enterprise might get. IP transit is connectivity to the rest of the internet. Ethernet, that's many times like you'll see in an E-rate or a government location might want point-to-point connectivity to another hub. Hosted PBX, that's what Henry and I were talking about. Dark fiber, that's just the infrastructure. Some places lease the infrastructure, and a lot of providers do not offer that. So it's a great benefit. We have a local knock here. It's actually in Chandler, 24/7, 365. We are constantly looking at our network, making sure we're on top of things and ahead of any issues. And any kind of network consulting, structured cabling, equipment, and any kind of technology management, or we can help with as well. All right, so here's the good stuff right here. So this is our current map. This shows all of the backbone. It does not show laterals, which are the smaller fiber routes throughout cities. This is the current fiber backbone. So this is what we have in the ground today. As you can see, we're branching out. We are the only carrier along the new Loop 202. We're heading out toward Mesa. Like I was telling you, toward the data centers. We've got, you can see in the north in central Phoenix where we hit all the major data centers. And our growth to rural Arizona through Pinal County, you'll see as we start going through Coolidge and Casa Grande. That's just the start of hundreds of miles that we have planned and designed already. So before we started this map was nothing. We had no infrastructure, and in the past 3 years, this is as far as we've come. So we're going fast, we're in growth mode, and we're excited to bring connectivity to rural Arizona. Any questions as of yet? Henry, are you hearing me better?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. So our on-net, near-net locations, this is a specific industry term that other carriers look for. What it is describing our network in a different way. This is telling the world how many locations are we within 500 feet of or already serving, and then how many locations are we under 2,000 feet from serving. Which is an important indicator of how quickly we can serve the customers that come to us. So this is went from 0 to the numbers you see today. So it's a really exciting numbers here.
So when you talk about locations there, what do you mean by locations that you are within 500 feet? Is that are you talking about end user sites, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. We have some exciting news coming up where, and it's regarding the reconnect, and I'll touch on it here in a minute, but the numbers you saw there are based on our traditional business model, which were before we got the reconnect grant. And those numbers are only based on bringing fiber to enterprises, government locations, small, medium business, and the like. Now that we have the reconnect grant, we are bringing fiber to the premise to homes. So it's going to be a fiber to the home build, and I'll show you the specific locations here in a minute. But it's a big benefit to rural Arizona and closing that digital divide that fiber.
Okay, so those locations you showed that were on net and near net, those are enterprise or government locations. Is that what you mean?
That's correct.
Okay, and now you're expanding to fiber to the home with the reconnect grant in certain areas.
That's right. That's exactly what I was getting to, is that now with the reconnect grant, we are able to serve those traditionally underserved areas with fiber to the home. So now telemedicine, serving the students that need connectivity for their schoolwork. This is going to be able to be accomplished with fiber to the premise. No, not wireless, not any other kind of technologies. Fiber to the home, and I'll show you the specific areas that we won. So on that note,
David, if I can interrupt, just make sure we leave a little time to talk about your digital inclusion
absolutely.
arm also.
Absolutely. Let me see, how much time do we get here? Okay. So our vision, of course, as I've been talking about, is to close the digital divide, bring cost-effective bandwidth through fiber optics to underserved areas and tribal communities in Arizona. We have this is a very rudimentary vision of the future of our backbone network, just to give a little bit of insight of how big we're thinking. When you see that little map that I showed you earlier and compare it to this, I don't see this very far off as far as time goes. So the yellow, you'll see the tribal communities, and then you'll see how it passes through rural Arizona. One exciting thing about it is you'll see the route kind of toward from Tohono O'odham to San Carlos. That is roughly where Reconnect gets us. So all the communities in between those two areas, Coolidge, Winkleman, Globe, they're all going to be served with fiber optic communications. So that's our vision right there. I kind of already went through all the highlights here. I'll leave it in the slideshow. You can, for the interest of time, you can reach out and let me know if you have any questions. Amanda, are you on the line? That's okay. I can talk to the Digital Connect initiative, and then if we have some time left, I'll bring up that Reconnect map, and you guys can see what areas we're serving. So the Digital Connect initiative is a subsidiary. It's a sister company to Illuvion, a subsidiary of Gila River Telecommunications. Is a nonprofit specifically designed to bridge the digital divide, improve digital literacy, using training to bring that to rural communities. It's a collaborative that focuses on everyone that actually needs the help and bringing the technologies to connect with each other. It speaks a lot to what I heard on this call just a little bit before I started speaking, and all the initiatives that are going on with this group. And wow, there's a lot of really great things going on. I think the Digital Connect initiative can be a big partner with the things that you're doing. These are just a few of the pictures of the events that they put on. Illuvion, for example, does some work for Digital Connect. We put on some trade shows. We do training programs. We've done quite a few on the Gila River Indian community. For example, there were tablets given out to some of the elders, and there was a lot of confusion of how to actually use it. And these tablets were meant to connect the tribal members using WebEx. Well, nobody knew how to use it. So Illuvion, through the Digital Connect initiative, put on that's where these pictures are from here, put on a training event, recorded videos, put them on our website specifically to help out a group who otherwise would be isolated during COVID with no connection to anybody. So that's just an example of what DCI is doing, and it's really good work. It really is.
Hey, Steve, this is Jeff. I was going to just comment really quick that this is great stuff. You know, Illuvion is very much viewed as a next-gen carrier here in the state because they have the ability to start from scratch. What they're doing in Pinal County in particular is really valuable. You know, we have a lot of economic development right now going on in places like Coolidge, industrial level and economic development. that they're going to play an important role. And I can't understate this, how difficult it is to get a USDA Reconnect grant. I mean, it might be the most difficult one in terms of the level of detail to actually fly people in to do network measurements to make sure that everything you say is correct on the grant. So they're going to be an incredibly important partner for the state moving forward, particularly in Maricopa and Pinal County. And the digital inclusion stuff is great. I think that just is testament to what the kind of work they're doing. So I just wanted to say thank you to David. I appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today, because this is all good stuff. I'm sure a lot of folks on the call were not aware of all the work you're doing. I know when you and I sat down and we started looking at maps, I was blown away. So good stuff.
I was blown away too, which is why I invited them to present today.
Yeah, thank you both. We really appreciate the opportunity, and I just really wanted to show everybody that the things that we're doing to help the community. This is really big for the state of Arizona, not just, you know, these little towns. As we grow, you're going to see these small little blue areas, for example, that are completely underserved. That's what we are aiming to serve. You're not going to see other carriers come through there and put fiber to the premise. So that's a really unique opportunity for the state. And we're very happy to have won USDA funding and bring it to Arizona.
David, is this map in your presentation?
It is not, but I'm happy to share it with you, Steve. I'll send it over to you.
Because I know you sent me your presentation and we'll share that with the task force. But if it's not in there, then we probably need to share that.
Yeah, happy to do so. It just shows you the reconnect.
We have somebody had a question.
Steve, this is Joy Whiting. I had a question for David. I noticed on your, one of your screens, you had a fiber map of something you were hoping to accomplish. Do you have any contracts, or do you have any connections or middle mile fiber on the Navajo Nation? One of our problems in Apache County is monopoly of carriers, and it would be nice to see some options.
So on Navajo, no. That is something we hope to finalize and work on in the future, but as of right now, we do not.
Hi, David. This is Ronnie from Sahorita Food Bank and Community Resource Center. Do you guys have any plans to come down to this area, like Pima, Green Valley, Sahorita, and that?
Let me see, where are you talking about? Is it south of Tucson?
Yeah.
We do not have anything drawn right now, but we do, oh, I see what you're talking about right here. We do have plans going there, yes. Nothing is drafted though.
Okay. When you do have something more concrete, are you able to share that with me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't mind, here, let me put up my contact information, and you guys reach out. Happy to answer any questions.
I will remind all of you that his contact information is also on the meeting announcement I sent out, and also on the meeting webpage.
All right, so if you just scan that QR code, it'll automatically put it in your phone. Myself on the left and our marketing manager on the right, Duncan Weston. And Steve, you know him, you talked to him a couple times.
Yes, I did. I know he couldn't make it today.
Yep.
Okay, I think we're about done.
All right, well, thank you again for the opportunity, Steve and team. It's a pleasure, and I hope you all have a good day.
Yeah, David, thank you very much. It's pretty awesome stuff that you guys are doing. So we're about done for today. Are there any other announcements? Again, if any of you are interested in participating in the discussion with about the EDA grant that we're exploring at this point, please let me know, and we'll let you know when the next planning meeting is. And with that, I encourage you all to hang online and chat with us for a while. So other than that, I think we're done. I'm going to stop recording and we're good to go. Thank you all.